something completely different. And I'm going to put it on a loop. And I want you to absorb. I want you to not only listen, but hear what the FBI director, the now FBI director, Kash Patel, I honestly don't know how long that's going to last, said. And yes, I implore you to cross-check and to do your research. Again, everyone, welcome to this late night broadcast, or perhaps early morning broadcast. I'm your hostess, Lise, and let's get this show on the road.
We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israelis. We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israelis. We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israelis. We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israelis. We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home.
Again, a lot of people had problems with that. We're going to go to another clip. And this is just my poking a little bit of humor into this. As I mentioned, there have been people who have had their heels on Kash Patel's top, and it appears that he always seems, at least to me, on the defense, like he has something to prove. If you know who you are and whose you are, again, through my lens, through my optics, you don't have to go to the lengths that I observe him going through to prove himself. So again, this is just a quick trip down memory lane of a cartoon I used to watch, and it comes to mind when I think about this whole mess, because that's exactly what it is.
Don't go telling a lie. Don't go telling a lie. Don't go telling a lie. Don't go telling a lie.
And with that, we are going to get into this broadcast. Again, welcome, and I hope you enjoy your time here.
I know you lying. 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 I know.
So most of this conversation has been about releasing the Epstein files, the millions of documents that are coming out, allegations, speculations that some are missing, some have been redacted, allegations that there was a team specifically with the task of removing the president's name. Now, again, I have no direct knowledge of that, nor anything that has proven those those bits of chatter that are out there, but there are people talking. And I know some of you in the chat will say, people talk all the time, prove it. Again, this is just chatter, and I'm putting it out there. But there is a document out there where this could be a little bit interesting when it comes to the future. And I obviously believe, because I wouldn't say it if I didn't, there is going to be, I predict, a clash between Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. I cannot say when, but I believe so. And once I get through with this broadcast, you'll understand why. So, the blueprint of this broadcast is that there's to be prudent and responsible, I'll say unconfirmed FBI source that exposes Todd Blanche and his, I'll just say, tall tales about the 1 million Epstein documents that happen to be found. And there's talk about redactions and the White House control of the Department of Justice messaging. That's the audio that we're going to listen to. And again, the name of the creator is Katie Fang. Excellent. So, before we get to that, there has been news about President Donald Trump. And, well, he's always in the news, but I don't really want to get too much into that, but there has been speculation again about his health. I don't wish evil or health challenges upon anyone. Number one, I have my own. So I believe in what you put in the atmosphere comes back, especially when it's malicious. But according to reports, he may have been taking more aspirin than he should, because aspirin to many people is also a form of a blood thinner. I know my mother used to take 81 milligrams a day. I think they were the chewable St. Joseph's aspirin. Again, this was many moons ago, but she did that to avoid or to just be cautious when it comes to thinning the blood and making sure that she would try to avoid at all costs, basically, strokes or things that could cause issues when clots can occur. So that's something that I understand that he spoke about, and that's all I'm going to mention when it comes to that. Again, that's one thing I will never do. I don't care how I feel about anyone. When it comes to health, I'm not going to disparage or be ugly and speak like that against anyone. And I mean anyone. I haven't, and I never will. So I can vehemently say that. Next, we're going to go to another clip as we get further into this. And I want to know your feelings, your honest feelings, and you don't have to put them in the chat, but you can think about it and just answer quietly your thoughts if Kash Patel will serve the entire 2026, or is his time at the FBI as the director going to be short-lived? Will he and Pam Bondi have a confrontation? Will there be further lawsuits and investigations that is swarming around the Epstein documentation, the survivors or alleged survivors? There's so much to unpack. But unfortunately, the FBI Director Kash Patel is smack dab in the middle. So let's listen to a couple of clips and we shall continue.
To say that the survivors were not credible. These are survivors.
That's not at all what I said.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask you this in a second, but let me tell you about
then
the
don't lie about
survivors,
me.
and let's bring them up here into the room. These are women. Why have you not met with them? You said you haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to
Is the
invite all
answer yes or
investigative
no
leads.
to whether or not?
Kash Patel. Kash Patel has a short fuse, and this is a pattern with him. I don't care who is asking a question, he will bite back so quickly. It's actually hilarious to me. So the next clip is again courtesy of the creators over there of TikTok.
Mr. Patel, does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
It's not a complicated question. Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I didn't say it was a complicated question. I just didn't hear you, so my apologies. We have released where President Trump's name's in the Epstein files and everybody else, and all credible information that we are legally allowed to release has been released.
All right, so let's go through that. You're referring to court orders that prohibit you from releasing grand jury testimony under Rule 6E. Is that what you're referring to when you say as the law allows?
That's a piece of it.
Really? What other evidence do those three court orders you cited prohibit from being released?
Information that was collected pursuant to those search warrants that were limited in fashion.
Wrong. That's not what the court order says, and that's not under 6E.
And you're talking, and I said that's 6E, and I said there was others, and I'm answering that. There are sealed court order documents. There are protective orders.
They are unsealed as part of discovery given to Ghislaine Maxwell. They are no longer sealed.
That's just not true. We can argue about it all you want.
Okay, well, you agree that there are, so your testimony here is that the reason why you are not releasing all of the videos that you have acknowledged, there are so many, and that the FBI spent thousands of hours of reviewing, the photographs, and the photographs that you have. You're saying that you're not releasing those because there's a court order requiring them to be sealed? Is that your testimony?
Never said that about the videos. On the totality of the videos, of the thousands of images that were seized pursuant to the search warrants executed.
Pam Bondi and Kash Patel aren't just disagreeing. They're in a full-blown clash. And it looks like Bondi is ready to throw Patel under the bus to save herself. And honestly, she's already started. One post, one statement. and suddenly Patel is in the crosshairs, while Bondi positions herself as the one cleaning house. It's messy, it's dramatic, and it's a classic case of political survival in the Trump orbit. And the stakes are massive because this isn't just a personal spat. It's about power, credibility, and control over information that could shift public perception, political influence, and maybe even legal outcomes. Before we dive into this MAGA civil war, let's set the stage properly. Robert Garcia, a name you might have seen.
Okay, so without further delay, let's get to this audio. Again, this is fair use, and you can find the entire video if you should desire to listen to the entire video on the page Katie Thing. P as in Paul, H as in Harry, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, G as in Giraffe. And this is where they speak about FBI sources expose Trump lies about Epstein files. That's the title.
Documents, and why it just goes to show that the obstruction is the point.
I know I was supposed to take a break this week. I was supposed to have this week off, but I do have some.
Now, the woman's voice that you hear now is Allison Gill. The one that you heard speak earlier is that of Katie Fang. Let's continue. Again, this is the voice of Allison Gill. Again, thank you to those that are joining. If you would be so kind to please double tap your screens, or depending upon the device you are listening to, or if you get around to it during the replay or it comes to your mind, come back and give this a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. And if you like this video and any other videos, consider subscribing if you are new. Again, thank you so very much.
Exclusive breaking news that landed on my desk. And I have this for you. And this is about the claims made by Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal attorney, now Deputy Attorney General, who is still his personal attorney. And Todd Blanche's claims that, oops, we found 1 million never seen before Epstein documents. Now he says
1 million. 1 million. I can't even imagine, but I want you to earmark that. 1 million. Today is January 1st, 2026. The time is 11:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, 1 million. This is today.
he was contacted by the FBI New York field office and the Southern District of New York. Well, maybe he didn't say it. Maybe the White House said it, because now the White House controls the Department of Justice Twitter account, which is banana pants in its own right. That's a whole different story. But somebody at the DOJ social media account says that Todd Blanche was contacted by the Southern District of New York FBI field office, and whoa, we've got 1 million new documents, and he's put lawyers on it from the National Security Division at Main Justice. We'll talk about that and who's part of that. And lawyers in the Southern District of Florida. There was a memo that went out that said, hey, lawyers in the Southern District of Florida, even though your life sucks and we fired all your colleagues and morale is in the shitter, we would love for you to spend your Christmas holiday kind of hinting at, hey, if you're Jewish, Hanukkah's over. Will you remotely redact these files and help, protect pedophiles?
The views and opinions of this following broadcast is not that of Doughwise TV or least any of the audio clips that you may hear. They are not of YouTube, Google, nor any of its affiliates.
I'm sure you would love to do that for your holiday season. So we had that. And I actually reached out two sources, to sources at the FBI who I've spoken to before, I've been speaking to for most of the year, and sources at the Department of Justice who participated in the project to redact the Epstein files, also known as, to most FBI agents who worked on it, this bullshit. And they did this past March, and they have actually exposed Todd Blanche's lies. And like I said,
again, these are all allegations, and I want to be clear, crystal clear. These are allegations. These are, and to me, to be prudent and responsible, I'm going to say unconfirmed. I'm just reporting and allowing you to hear the audio. You have to fact check, and if you find something different, please feel free to let me know on the chat or in the comments. I'd appreciate it.
I have that exclusive breaking news for you here on the Midas Touch Network today. So welcome to the breakdown. Okay, and joining me today, I couldn't think of a better person to join me today because of some reporting that my colleague here at Midas Touch did about the million document lie. Someone who's been reporting on this did a report the day after Christmas. My colleague here, like I said, at Midas, Katie Fang. Katie, hello, welcome.
Now, you're about to hear Katie Fang again. She is excellent. At least I believe she is. And we're going to get further into it. This is her.
Oops, because of some discovery we pried out of the government. Turns out that was a lie. I feel like Maury Povich. Turns out, lie detector says that was a lie. So he's already been caught.
You are the father, yeah.
You are the father of a bunch of bullshit.
All with a lie.
So, not only should he not be trusted, Katie, it should be assumed that the opposite of whatever he says is actually the truth. So you went over a couple of letters and memos and statements that indicate that the Department of Justice has had the New York FBI field office and Southern District of New York Epstein files for a long time now. So let's start, and we're going to have a link in the show notes, by the way, to your report, because I absolutely love it. So let's start with the letter that Jamie Raskin sent to Pamela Jo Bondi pursuant to whistleblower survivors and survivors' attorneys who came and spoke to him as protected whistleblowers.
Yeah, you got to hand it to certain members of Congress.
This is the voice of Katie Fang. Again, welcome to Exposed. I'm your hostess, Lise.
That have doggedly made this a priority, in addition to all the other hard work that they've been doing on behalf of all Americans. And I always underscore this, that it's regardless of party affiliation, they're fighting for all of us, whether you like it or not, right? Whether you appreciate it or not, they are. And I think of people like Jamie Raskin and Robert Garcia and others, right? So Jamie Raskin, back on November 3rd of 2025, sent this letter to Pamela Jo. Pam Bondi, sorry. I call her Pamela Jo.
So do I.
Okay. Yes, Pamela Jo.
So they clarified who they were speaking about. Pam Bondi, Pamela Bondi, Pamela Jo. And that's who you see pictured on the screen for those of you that are actually viewing.
Pammy Jo gets his letter back on November 3rd. And what's impeccable about Jamie Raskin is he brings receipts always. And not only does he have plethora of footnotes and endnotes, but he cites to the counsel for the Epstein victims and survivors when he says that up until January of 2025, and of course, no coincidences, right? When Trump gets sworn into office, there were representations made that there was an ongoing investigation into co-conspirators of Epstein, Maxwell, and others. And then suddenly and abruptly, in January of 2025, not only are those investigations terminated, but the entirety of the Epstein case file is transferred to Main Justice, which is what we refer to as the Department of Justice located in Washington, D.C. So Raskin, as early, we'll say early, not late, as November 3rd of 2025, in his letter to Pamela Jo, states that there was an active investigation into Epstein and Maxwell's co-conspirators until January of 2025. And then in January, the Southern District of New York was ordered by Maine Justice to transfer the Epstein case files to DOJ headquarters in Washington, D.C.
I'm in the D.C. area, and I'm going to let you know now. There has been so many stories of scandal and things that have happened in and around, I'll just say Pennsylvania Avenue, that it would blow your mind. So again, there are a couple of letters that are going to be discussed, and one is the Jamie Raskin letter to Pam Bondi, but the second one, which you see in the thumbnail here, is is the letter penned by Pam Bondi to Kash Patel as it relates to releasing the Epstein documentation. So let's continue with the audio of Katie Fang. Again, welcome to those of you that are just joining. I appreciate your listenership and your engagement.
Since that time, January of 2025, crickets in terms of any type of outreach, active investigation, or active pursuit of any of the threads that you could pull, financial, or otherwise, that could be relevant to Epstein and Maxwell. And so when I saw that, Allison, I was like, whoa, hold a second. How in the world can Todd Blanche, as the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, now make a public affirmative representation to us as Americans that they, quote unquote, suddenly found more than 1 million documents?
Okay, we're going to stop right there and listen to another clip. That is crazy to me.
I could say this. The day after, I talked to a high-level CIA official. Very high. And
this is, I would say, 99% Tulsi Gabbard's deputy.
He told me, I don't even know if I should say this.
I think you should absolutely say it.
He clearly has not been paying attention to the news cycle, because he would know that by telling this story, he is absolutely outing his source on who this was, okay? Because this is all, I'm telling you, 99%, unless his source got this from, Tulsi Gabbard's deputy.
He told me that the FBI is not cooperating with him, and he is trying to corroborate potential foreign influence, and was getting blocked out of every opportunity to confirm or deny that. And it was written off as no foreign influence less than 48 hours in. And this guy has access to the President of the United States. And so for that to be said from the guy and asking me if I had anybody that I knew on the inside to be able to get information because he wasn't allowed to access it, I'm like, why are you calling me? Tells me everything that I need to know. I don't even know if I should say it.
Dude. Okay, I actually, I put this down in my notes. Like, okay, I got to cover this. I forgot how damning that is, dude. Okay. Like, within 48 hours, no foreign influence. Now, listen, let me just say this. Okay. It is possible, right? It is possible that they had, in fact, verified Tyler Robinson was the one who did it. And that's why he's like, dude, I talked to this kid. I talked to his family. He did it. There's no foreign influence. This is just some dumbass kid, right? Now, that would be irresponsible after 48 hours, not even looking into whether there's foreign influence, right? But again, he's also blocking them looking into the leftist potential co-conspirators, because the ones who posted all over the internet, Charlie's gonna get it, man. Charlie's gonna freaking get it, man. Which demonstrates either foreign influence, which they're trying to make it look like that.
So, your thoughts on that. Before we continue with Katie Fang, I have another clip for you.
Is it just me, or does the Epstein case with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi seem a little bit off? This video I'm about to share with you is going to change your entire outlook on what really happened to Epstein inside of the federal facility he was being housed in.
The guards, I was told that the guards, who fell asleep in the...
Right.
Fell asleep, yeah. And we all assumed they were bribed. Yeah, we all thought that. Well, guess what? They did fall asleep. Their blood was tested the next morning, and they found traces of nitrous oxide. So what's that tell you, man?
Wow.
You guys do know what nitric oxide is, right? That's what they give you at the dentist when they put you asleep. Did you guys see Senator John Kennedy yesterday asking Kash Patel whether or not he believed that Jeffrey Epstein himself or somebody else did it? Well, Kash Patel responded and said he believed that Jeffrey Epstein did it to himself. There are way too many factors leading to foul play in what truly happened in Epstein's cell that night. Not only did the cameras allegedly shut off, but the guards fell asleep and failed to do their routine check on Epstein's cell. Now it's coming out that one of the guards had nitric oxide in his bloodstream, a known agent to put people to sleep. Are you guys really that naive to believe that Epstein really himself with everything that has come out, with cameras in the facility just all of a sudden cutting off, guards not doing routine checks, and a guard falling asleep on duty that was right around the corner from his cell? And now it's coming out that one of the guards had nitric oxide in his system. The question is, who cut off those cameras? Who gave that guard nitric oxide? Is it just me, or does the...
That is crazy. And again, these are all allegations. I have nothing. Dwight's TV or Lease has absolutely nothing to substantiate those claims. But that gentleman seemed very confident about that. So we are going to continue with audio of Katie Fang. Again, welcome to those who are joining. If you would be so kind to double tap your screens, or depending upon the device you're listening to, give this a thumbs up.
Right. And, then you brought up a letter from Pammy Joe to Kash Patel that she wrote way back on February 27th. And it had something to do with, I've heard that there are now a bunch of files that you found in New York. You need to send them to me. You have until tomorrow morning, and then you have 14 days to tell me why, etc. So talk about that letter as well.
Well, that was kind of outrageous. And let me be clear, too. Congressman.
This is crazy. This is the voice of Katie Fang.
And Jamie Raskin also demanded information for Pamela Joe. And of course, they got nothing, right? Because why bother? Why bother to have transparency in your role to Congress, even though Congress understandably is looking from, House Judiciary? They're like, hey, we need to have this information. So this letter that you just talked about, it's such a curious tenor, right? Because it's dated February 27th from Pamela Joe to Kash Patel. And it basically is, again, going through the chronology of Pamela Joe trying to cover her ass in terms of trying to get her hands on the Epstein files. Now, there's no coincidences again. February 27th, the date of this letter, Allison, is the same date that Pamela Joe sat down at the White House with 15 far-right MAGA influencers, and she herself personally delivered, quote-unquote, Epstein file binder number 1.
Now, again, I'm going to put up in this very letter that Katie Fang is speaking about. It is authentic, and that's why I beg to question if there's going to be a confrontation very soon or a shakeup between Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. We are going to take a short intermission. You all can continue to engage in the chat, and if you have any questions, please be sure to place them in the comments. So we are back, and welcome to those who may have just joined. We are on a late night, early morning broadcast entitled Exposed. I'm your hostess, Lise, and welcome. We're going to continue with Katie Fang as she speaks about this, well, one of the letters, and this one is the letter to Pam, from Pam Bondi to Kash Patel. This is Pam Bondi. Those who may not know who she looks like. And this is Kash Patel.
And present at that meeting was convicted felon Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, and others, right? So they're all there for this big fanfare that was a big womp womp, nothing new. But she tells Kash Patel on this letter that late yesterday, as of February 26th, I learned from a, quote, source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein. Because she says earlier in this letter, Allison, that she had only received 200 pages of documents.
Okay, that was February 2025. This is January 1st, 2026. And as I mentioned, all of a sudden, Blanche, I guess through osmosis, there's a million documents now. A million documents now. So what's really going on here? Let's continue.
Of which 99% of which had already been made publicly available. So she demanded by February 28th at 8 a.m. that you, the FBI, deliver, quote, the full and complete Epstein files to my office. And she said, you also have to give me a report within 14 days, comprehensively covering why my order to the FBI was never followed to begin with. And of course, once again, crickets.
Okay. The letter that you heard Katie Fang speak about, just letter right here. Office of the Attorney General, Washington, D.C., dated February 27th. And it's addressed to Director Patel, and it's signed by Pamela Bondi, Attorney General. I'm going to leave that up there. If you'd like to take a screenshot of that, you're welcome to do so. And I'm going to continue the audio. Katie Fang. And this goes into lawyer charged with redactions, altered Zelensky transcript. So this is getting really dicey here.
Lawyers that are looking at it for purposes of privilege and all that other stuff, even though that is not a permissive redaction point. Let me be very clear. The law, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, doesn't allow for privilege redactions, doesn't allow for those things. So when you've seen, like I actually posted on social the other day, I was like, they redacted the phone number for the fax machine at the Metropolitan Correction Center, the legal department's fax machine, and they've redacted names of prosecutors and other people that were not legally permissible redactions. And that really bothered me because it's one thing to...
Now, I'm going to do a hard stop right there because I said earlier, before this big presentation of these files that there was going to be some type of hiccup, some type of curveball thrown with redactions and losing documents and mistakes upon mistakes upon mistakes. And here we are today. I think certain individuals, again, these are my opinions, they know exactly what they were doing. And I believe certain individuals had or have no intention on being totally transparent when it comes to the Epstein files and documentation. Let's continue.
Err on the side of caution. It's a whole other thing to be redacting things that are not allowed to be removed.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you why I think it's in the national security lawyer's hands, and not just because Eisenberg is friendly to omitting things from documents that.
And this is the voice of Allison Gill.
He doesn't want people to see and hiding them in code word classified systems. But Donald Trump's excuse for everything, ever since the Supreme Court, remember when the Supreme Court said you have to talk about how to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States?
That, I spoke about that the other day. That, for those of you who don't remember, is the case of the Maryland resident, not United States citizen. He's a Salvadorian citizen, However, he was deported back to El Salvador to CCUT by error, by the government's admission. And they did everything they could to keep him over there. But he was returned in June. He was released. And now there's going to be an evidentiary hearing on January 28th, 2026 to see if Kilmar Abrego Garcia's assertions that this is a vindictive prosecution has merit. And that's what he and his lawyers are fighting for. And there is a possibility, not saying that it will happen, but there's a possibility that that smuggling case out of Tennessee actually may be dismissed. So all eyes are going to be on that evidentiary hearing January 28th, 2026, as relates to Kilmar Garcia. Let's continue.
Facilitate, exactly. Yeah.
But they put a sentence in there that said, but the courts must show due regard and deference to the president when it comes to national security issues. And ever since that sentence was written in that decision, the Trump administration has been like, everything that they don't want to talk about is national security. The agreement with Bukele, national security. Me building the East Wing with the bunker underneath, national security. You can't stop me. Me deporting people to third countries, national security. Me trying to use the Alien Enemies Act to disappear people to El Salvador and Seco prison, national security. Everything's national security. And I think that he can see the writing on the wall, and people are going to ask why so many things are being withheld, even if she doesn't start the 15-day clock until the entire rolling production is done, so that he can say national security. That's why I've redacted.
Again, I don't think too many people are surprised about these redactions. Thus far, your thoughts, your thoughts and opinions of what you've heard so far. And have you had the opportunity yet to view in its entirety the
did these things.
Well, and we also know that Jay Clayton, at the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, again, no coincidences, the office that purportedly just, quote unquote, stumbled over 1 million more documents that they just turned.
Again, back in February of 2025, I'll refer back to this letter. Pam Bondi claimed that she had only received approximately 200 pages of documents. And less than a year later, almost 1 million. A million. So, I'm going to leave that up there as we continue to listen to Katie Fang. Again, welcome to those who may just be entering.
Over to main justice. You know, there's allegedly some investigation that has been ordered by Pamela Jo Bondi to be conducted.
So, your thoughts thus far on what you've heard from Allison Gill and Katie Fang and these letters. Unbelievable. Well, let me not say that. Nothing surprises or shocks me anymore. So we're going to continue to listen to a couple of more moments and close this part out.
One of those things where when the information does come out, because also remember, we're still getting stuff from the Epstein estate as well. Mm-hmm. Financials, there's subpoenas ducis tecum that were served on financial institutions. Think about all the different threads that we can continue to pull.
Now, that's something I did not know. So normally, what she just mentioned, the subpoena ducis tecum is a production of documents. You don't really have to appear at a deposition or a trial. You just need to produce document. So that is exactly what she's speaking about. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Let's continue.
Just to show what wasn't done before, what wasn't chased down before, and people who care enough to do it. And this is us, right? This is you and I, two independent female journalists on a holiday, Sunday, December 28th, right? Like, we're doing this, like, because we care. You can imagine, like, how many people are also going to approach somebody like you that's trusted, that they...
So if you want to listen to this in its entirety, you can go to, again, Katie Fang, and I'll make sure that it is in the description. Awesome conversation between these two ladies, and again, there is an implication that there's an expert that states that it's very unlikely that they lost 1 million files. 1 million files. Let's go to the next clip.
A lot of folks bought into that story. After all, he should know what those court orders really entail. It seems hard to believe he'd lie about something so easily verifiable. But then someone decided to dig a little deeper. Whether it was congressional investigators or journalists, they managed to access the actual sealed court orders and brought their findings to Judge Boasberg. When the judge reviewed those documents, it was a whole different story. Turns out, Patel wasn't being honest. The sealed orders didn't say what he claimed they did. In fact, they had exceptions that would allow for congressional access. With the right redactions to keep sensitive information under wraps, Patel could have released the documents, but instead, he opted for a blanket excuse that simply didn't hold water. When Judge Boasberg confronted Patel with this evidence and showed him the specific language present in the sealed orders, Patel tried to stick to his narrative, spinning excuses and arguing that his interpretation was reasonable. But the judge wasn't having any of it. He quickly shut that down, stating, "No, the sealed orders do not say what you claim they say. This isn't about interpretation. This is about you misrepresenting facts under oath. This is perjury." At that point, things escalated. Once a judge has determined that someone lied while under oath, it becomes a serious matter that must be addressed. It's honestly hard to believe that Kash Patel thought he could get away with this. Judge Boasberg has stepped in with quite a surprising order that's making waves. First off, he told Patel he must immediately share the Epstein files with Congress, giving them the necessary redactions. The judge wasn't having any of Patel's flimsy legal excuses. He pointed out that Patel needs to follow the sealed orders for real, not the made-up rules he's come up with. Then, the judge dropped another serious point about the potential for criminal repercussions. He made it crystal clear that perjury is a federal crime, and lying under oath can land someone in prison. The judge warned Patel that if he continues to sidestep the order or keeps up his lies, he could face contempt charges. Now, imagine what that would mean for an FBI director. It's an unprecedented situation that would not only create a huge scandal, but could also force him to resign and face criminal prosecution. In an interesting turn, the judge practically nudged Congress to look into referring Patel to the Department of Justice for a perjury investigation. While he didn't say it outright, he definitely hinted that there's strong evidence against Patel, indicating that his sworn statements were false and likely intentional. Now, let's not forget the solid documentary evidence that challenges Patel's claims. This isn't just a matter of the judge's word against Patel's. We've got FBI memos, internal communications, and records that indicate Patel was well aware of what the sealed orders actually required. It shows he made a conscious choice to twist their meaning, and that documentary evidence is pretty damning because it highlights his intent. This wasn't just a simple mix-up. Patel knowingly lied, and that's the textbook definition of perjury. He can't hide behind a misunderstanding or confusion about legal requirements. The documents clearly show he knew exactly what he was doing. That's why reports are swirling that Congress is likely to refer him to the Department of Justice for charges. The evidence is just too compelling to brush aside, and
Well, your thoughts on that? We are now going to shift and pivot to CNN News 18 for some audio as it relates to Kash Patel revealing never before seen evidence as it relates to the passing of Jeffrey Epstein. Again, welcome to those who are just tuning in. And if you would be so kind to double tap your screens, or depending upon the device you're using, hit the thumbs up. Your comments are welcome. Just be respectful. And again, thank you so much. And this is fair use, courtesy of CNN News 18. FBI Director Kash Patel reveals never before seen evidence on Jeffrey Epstein. This should be interesting.
Triage the threats facing this nation, threats facing Americans, and then allocate resources accordingly. I guess you are to be judged negatively because you are trying to reallocate the resources of the FBI to fix what the Democratic administration prior to this under Biden broke. So let's talk about the reassignment of federal agents and why that has been necessary. Would you say that the majority of assignments has been made because we are facing unprecedented levels of violence, both because of the unvetted surge of anywhere from 11 million to 20 million people across our border in the last 4 years, and because of the woke, weak, insane policies that have been pushed into states and cities around this nation by the left?
Absolutely.
And so I hear you being grilled because you have rightfully pushed resources where they needed to go to protect the American public. And I have heard you questioned that you are in some way, and I'm going to use their words, which I don't believe is grounded in reality, that you are going to lean on local and state agents to do the job of the FBI. Might it be recharacterized more accurately in that you are partnering with local and state agencies in these areas, especially where these policies that the Democrats support wholeheartedly, in fact, they frustrate our efforts to try and beef up our laws with good criminal justice policies at every turn, and then come in here and get on you for, by the way, you've been here 7 months, so I know that in the 7 months, you didn't break it, they broke it over the last 4 years, but it is
So she's definitely giving him his flowers, so it seems. And as you could hear her say, he's only been the FBI director for 7 months. 7 months.
more accurate to say that you are using the federal government and its agencies or its agents and its resources to supplement and amplify law enforcement efforts in these areas, cities and states where the Democrat policies broke them.
It's been an integral part of my tenure to use local and state partnerships. I say it everywhere I go. We cannot do the work without partnering with state and local authorities in every single state and every single county in this country. And why we pushed out to the field is...
Now, it's mighty funny that he can answer that question, but any other question, he doesn't know, or he has to get back to people. So let's continue.
Investigation. The annex shows that the FBI had evidence necessary to conduct, quote, thorough and complete investigation, end quote. But the Comey FBI failed to review the evidence at the time. After nearly a decade in the shadows, this information has now come to light thanks to Dr. Patel, or Director Patel. Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, during your confirmation hearing, you made several important commitments For instance, you told Senator Coons there will be no politicization at the FBI. There'll be no retributive actions taken by any FBI should I be confirmed as FBI director. So let me ask you very specifically, did you ever take any action to terminate or discipline an FBI agent or employee?
Now, this is critical because it goes back to my live of either yesterday or the day before yesterday, where I said I was giving a sneak peek to an actual lawsuit where there were 9 Jane Does and 3 John Does who has sued Kash Patel at the FBI and several other entities, and you could see personnel and expungement. So yes, people were relieved or left certain positions. So that's a little bit of context.
In whole or in part, as retribution for being part of an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th?
No.
You also committed, you assured Senator Blumenthal, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. So you're testifying today that you played no role in the firing of even a single FBI agent for political retribution.
None for political retribution.
And if any FBI agent said you did, they would be lying. Is that your testimony?
I'm only speaking to my actions. Everybody is allowed to make their allegations.
Oh, no, these are allegations against you.
And
so, Mr. Patel, if FBI, senior FBI agents or employees said that you were firing them for political retribution reasons because of the cases they were assigned, you're saying they would be lying.
Anyone that was terminated at the FBI was done so for failing to meet the standards, uphold their constitutional oath, and effectuate the mission.
So he didn't seem too happy with that. We're going to listen to this clip really quickly.
Mr. Patel, does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
It's not a complicated question. Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I didn't say it was a complicated question. I just didn't hear you, so my apologies. We have released where President Trump's name's in the Epstein files and everybody else, and all credible information that we are legally allowed to release has been released.
All right, so let's go through that. You're referring to court orders that prohibit you from releasing grand jury testimony under Rule 6E. Is that what you're referring to when you say as the law allows?
That's a piece of it.
Really? What other evidence do those 3 court orders you cited prohibit from being released?
Information that was collected pursuant to those search warrants that were limited in fashion.
Wrong. That's not what the court order says, and that's not under 6E.
And you're talking, and I said that's 6E, and I said there was others, and I'm answering that. There are sealed court order documents. There are protective orders.
They are unsealed as part of discovery.
So we're going to now pivot back to CNN News 18 for audio entitled Epstein Files Exposed, New Documents Reveal Controversial Names and Photos. Again, welcome to those who may just be joining.
That hole was and how long it would take for them to dig out of. I describe it as a hole because there is so much material here, and the Justice Department doesn't seem to understand how much they need to get through or how long it will take them. They say it could be many more weeks, that they're making excessive redactions, they're clearly not meeting the congressional deadline, and they have a million more documents to go through at least.
There are moments when it seems like instead of digging out, they're digging further down. We'll have to see how this plays out going forward. You'll be on top of all of it. Caleb Wallace, thanks so much. Appreciate it. I want to bring in Epstein survivor, Danielle Bensky, to give her perspective. Danielle, first, I think we talk a lot about kind of...
Okay, this is one of the survivors, and I'm just going to say alleged to be prudent and responsible, but this is one of the survivors, and let's listen to her perspective on the release of more documents.
The politics of things, about what's coming out when and how the process is going. Just to start off with, how are you doing as this all unfolds?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think
there's just growing frustration, I think, for survivors because the redactions really don't make a ton of sense. I came across something last night that I was looking at that had my name and my cell phone number, and while it didn't have my last name, it still was completely unredacted in this file. And then in the very same file, there was a memo that had said, I have a female for him. We don't know who him is, of course, but that name had been redacted. So the redactions don't seem to make a ton of sense.
So this is one of the alleged survivors speaking, and she's claiming that she had information about herself partially redacted, where others appear to be totally redacted, which did not make sense to her, and I guess from the outside looking in, may not make a lot of sense to many people. Let's continue. Again, this is courtesy of CNN News 18.
And we just, as survivors, really wanted our stories and our lives to be handled with care. It was what we expected from our DOJ.
Absolutely. And you can't blame her for that. So let's continue to listen.
We produce documents, and sometimes this can result in releasing fake or false documents because they simply are in our possession because the law requires this, which is true. Case in point, the so-called Epstein-Nasser letter, he went on to say, is clearly fake, wrong handwriting, wrong return address, and postmarked 3 days after Epstein died. So this is what happens when you drop everything with no context, but I guess ultimately at the end of the day, transparency is what Congress wants.
And good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, who is the Trump Department of Justice trying to protect? The DOJ releasing 30,000.
Again, welcome and thank you for those who are just tuning in. Do you believe that Trump and the DOJ are making efforts to protect anyone? And let's switch it over to the Democrats. Should the Democrats be concerned as well of these documents, these infamous files?
1,000 more pages from the Epstein files, documents that are again heavily redacted, page after page of black. And among the redactions, something critically important: the names of the men who allegedly committed these heinous acts, still unknown, still protected, as are the names of what federal agents call Epstein's co-conspirators. According to one email with the subject co-conspirators, the person whose signature line includes FBI New York writes, when you get a chance, can you give me an update on the status of the 10 co-conspirators? Then the response.
So they're giving a number. Again, I can't substantiate this. This is what you hear here. 10. The number 10. Co-conspirators.
Hours later comes and every name is blocked out. Now, it isn't who co-conspirators are. Also a mystery is why the DOJ felt the identities of all but 3 of them should be protected. But the Justice Department tonight is also determined to protect the president, spending hours today to prove that a letter purportedly written by Jay Epstein to convicted sex offender pedophile Larry Nassar, a letter that reads in part, our president also shares our love of young, nubile girls. Now, at 1:30, the DOJ tweeted it was looking into the validity of this alleged letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar. That was their quote. 2 hours later, they posted another post on social media saying the FBI has confirmed this alleged letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar is fake. Fake. Now, this begs a lot of questions. How did the DOJ not know that before releasing the letter? It is confusing, to say the least, to think that when they're redacting content and only releasing files in dribs and drabs because they say they're taking such care with what they put out, to think that such a thing was released. And above all else, why isn't the DOJ spending as much time protecting?
So, your thoughts and opinions with this letter purportedly signed by Jay Epstein referencing President Donald Trump is fake. Is it fake? Was it fake? Is it fake news? Or more of a distraction or more political theater? Let's continue. Again, courtesy CNN News 18.
President, that's not what a document release is all about. Bill Clinton's photo got released, and there was nothing.
Oh well,
bad
they
in the
were
photos.
given prominent billing at the very start, right first things out the door.
And they didn't bother to give any context to those if those were innocent photos of him sitting in a swimming pool. He wasn't doing anything wrong. No one made a statement on behalf of Bill.
So they're speaking about Bill Clinton and his photos that were released.
Yet the Justice Department, who is supposed to, or which is supposed to be involved in justice for victims and citizens of the United States, is working on the justice of protecting the president's image. And it's bizarre and disturbing.
Barry, as you've covered this for so long, what are the big questions you have tonight about those co-conspirators?
Well, Aaron, as Ryan pointed out, there is material in these files that we're supposed to see related to the co-conspirators. The fact is, we haven't really seen the meat and potatoes of that material. What concerns me most, Aaron, is in looking at the legitimate documents that we're seeing today, is that there's been so many missed opportunities. Why are the co-conspirator documents related to after the Miami Herald's Perversion of Justice series? Why weren't they focused on these men in 2008 when they first took over the case from the Palm Beach police? This is what is.
That's absolutely an excellent question. There's so many questions as to why and the timelines. Let's continue.
But then in these documents, which they have said, were full of salacious details, right, that aren't true, an assistant attorney from the Southern District of New York writes in an email on January 8th, 2020, Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported or that we were aware, including during the period we would expect to charge in a Maxwell case. In particular, he is listed as a passenger on at least 8 flights between 1993 and 1996, including at least 4 flights on which Maxwell was also present. Barry, what does that mean?
Well, what it means is that we weren't told the truth up front by the president, and even more disturbing.
So for those of you that are in the chat or may catch the replay, do you believe President Donald Trump has been untrue about some of these statements related to these Epstein files and documents and this entire Epstein nightmare that has not gone away? Let's continue. And again, courtesy CNN News 18.
Disturbing in that report of the flights from 93 to 96, there's a reference that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were on a plane with 2 women who were potential Maxwell witnesses to testify at her.
Again, so you see how they're being very careful with the words potential. He said potential. He referred to the 2 women as potential.
So that could place the president on a plane with Jeffrey Epstein with a possible sexual abuse victim. So again, we don't know the context. We don't know exactly what.
No, we do not. So I want to be clear, crystal clear. We do not know the context. And President Trump has said repeatedly that he did not participate in anything as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein. They were once very good friends, and Donald Trump, President Trump, has said that he stopped being his friend and he kicked him out because he was, in President Donald Trump's own words, speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, a creep. Let's continue.
Was said on the plane. We didn't know if he knew who these women were. But it is upsetting. And then you take that into account in the same time frame in 1994. You had a Jane Doe, who is also in the file, saying that she was 14 years old when Jeffrey Epstein took her to Mar-a-Lago and told Donald Trump, this is a good one, right? And Donald Trump apparently chuckled. That's in another report that came up in these files. So there's a
So again, these are all allegations. I don't have anything to substantiate any of that. These are just reports. And for the entire interview, you can go to CNN News 18. And the title is Epstein Files Exposed. New documents reveal controversial names and photos. So that is the end of this broadcast. I thank each and every one of you for tuning in. And my question or questions to you are, is Kash Patel and Pam Bondi secretly, not in public, having a verbal fisticuff? Is there something going on that we don't know about just yet? Because this letter, as I mentioned, and it's public, requested Kash Patel to produce documents. And it seems as though, again, through my optics, he has a pattern of being slow to respond to certain things. Keep in mind, this quick video of him earlier.
We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israeli.
To wake up and prioritize. Remember, Donald Trump, President Trump says, America first. So in summary,
Mr. Patel, does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
It's not a complicated question. Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I didn't say it was a complicated question. I just didn't hear you, so my apologies. We have released where President Trump's name's in the Epstein files and everybody else, and all credible information that we are legally allowed to release has been released.
All right, so let's go through that. You're referring to court orders that prohibit you from releasing grand jury testimony under Rule 6E. Is that what you're referring to when you say as the law allows?
That's a piece of it.
Really? What other evidence do those three court orders you cited prohibit from being released?
Information that was collected pursuant to those search warrants that were limited in fashion.
Wrong. That's not what the court order says, and that's not under 6E.
And you're talking, and I said that's 6E, and I said there was others, and I'm answering that. There are sealed court order documents. There are protective orders.
They are unsealed as part of discovery given to Ghislaine Maxwell. They are no longer sealed.
That's just not true. We can argue about it all you want.
Okay, well, you agree that there are, so your testimony here is that the reason why you are not releasing all of the videos that you have acknowledged, there are so many, and that the FBI spent thousands of hours of reviewing, the photographs, the photographs that you have. You're saying that you're not releasing those because there's a court order requiring them to be sealed? Is that your testimony?
Never said that about the videos. On the totality of the videos, of the thousands of images that were seized pursuant to the search warrants executed.
Pam Bondi and Kash Patel aren't just disagreeing. They're in a full-blown clash. And it looks like Bondi is ready to throw Patel under the bus to save herself. And honestly, she's already started. One post, one statement, and suddenly Patel is in the crosshairs, while Bondi positions herself as the one cleaning house. It's messy, it's dramatic, and it's a classic case of political survival in the Trump orbit. And the stakes are massive because this isn't just a personal spat. It's about power, credibility, and control over information that could shift public perception, political influence, and maybe even legal outcomes. Before we dive into this MAGA civil war, let's set the stage properly. Robert Garcia, a name you might have seen.
So, your thoughts thus far on what you have heard.
Mr. Patel, does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein file?
A lot of folks bought into that story. After all, he should know what those court orders really entail. It seems hard to believe he'd lie about something so easily verifiable. But then someone decided to dig a little deeper. Whether it was congressional investigators or journalists, they managed to access the actual sealed court orders and brought their findings to Judge Boasberg. When the judge reviewed those documents, it was a whole different story. Turns out, Patel wasn't being honest. The sealed orders didn't say what he claimed they did. In fact, they had exceptions that would allow for congressional access. With the right redactions to keep sensitive information under wraps, Patel could have released the documents, but instead, he opted for a blanket excuse that simply didn't hold water. When Judge Boasberg confronted Patel with this evidence and showed him the specific language present in the sealed orders, Patel tried to stick to his narrative, spinning excuses and arguing that his interpretation was reasonable. But the judge wasn't having any of it. He quickly shut that down, stating, "No, the sealed orders do not say what you claim they say. This isn't about interpretation. This is about you misrepresenting facts under oath. This is perjury." At that point, things escalated. Once a judge has determined that someone lied while under oath, it becomes a serious matter that must be addressed. It's honestly hard to believe that Kash Patel thought he could get away with this. Judge Boasberg has stepped in with quite a surprising order that's making waves. First off, he told Patel he must immediately share the Epstein files with Congress, giving them the necessary redactions. The judge wasn't having any of Patel's flimsy legal excuses. He pointed out that Patel needs to follow the sealed orders for real, not the made-up rules he's come up with. Then, the judge dropped another serious point about the potential for criminal repercussions. He made it crystal clear that perjury is a federal crime, and lying under oath can land someone in prison. The judge warned Patel that if he continues to sidestep the order or keeps up his lies, he could face contempt charges. Now, imagine what that would mean for an FBI director. It's an unprecedented situation that would not only create a huge scandal, but could also force him to resign and face criminal prosecution. In an interesting turn, the judge practically nudged Congress to look into referring Patel to the Department of Justice for a perjury investigation. While he didn't say it outright, he definitely hinted that there's strong evidence against Patel, indicating that his sworn statements were false and likely intentional. Now, let's not forget the solid documentary evidence that challenges Patel's claims. This isn't just a matter of the judge's word against Patel's. We've got FBI memos, internal communications, and records that indicate Patel was well aware of what the sealed orders actually required. It shows he made a conscious choice to twist their meaning, and that documentary evidence is pretty damning because it highlights his intent. This wasn't just a simple mix-up. Patel knowingly lied, and that's the textbook definition of perjury. He can't hide behind a misunderstanding or confusion about legal requirements. The documents clearly show he knew exactly what he was doing. That's why reports are swirling that Congress is likely to refer him to the Department of Justice for charges. The evidence is just too compelling to brush aside, and the...
Okay. So this is going to be a long ride, I do believe, for FBI Director Kash Patel. Remember,
don't go telling a lie. Don't.
thank you for tuning in to Exposed. I'm your hostess, Lise. Enjoy the remainder of your night. Perhaps it is morning. Until next video, please be safe, be well, and you know the rest. Be healthier. Bye-bye for now.